Zelensky is obviously a cokehead. All the signs are there. You give him $1 billion, the next week he's broke. He's always wearing the same dirty t-shirt that Sean Penn gave him. He's always saying delusional shit like, I'm gonna defeat Russia.
Well, hello, that's me again. Today is January 22. It is Wednesday, 2025, no less. And I want to address immediately some people. I mean, they may not necessarily be all bad people. Some of them are plain simple trolls who are, following. I have army of the trolls which follow me through the, my videos and through my blog, and they make all those, remarks, which of course, being petty people, that's the only thing they can do. But some people actually may have the point in the sense that it's legitimate to ask about why are your videos are always the same. Well, they are not always the same, and some people, obviously understandable, many people go to see military porn and want to see all those fairy tales about those weapons and how they operate, and it's it could be interesting, but this is not what I do. Well, for starters, most of those weapon systems nobody will even understand how to properly basically grasp them, how they operate, because most of it is highly classified, and sitting here and basically speculating on this matter, it's not my style. There are very many fanboys out there on YouTube who basically masturbate to all kinds of the military technology, but it's important in a normal, so to speak, a limited doses, if you wish, because otherwise I will basically kill what I was supposed to be doing from the get-go when I, stated in my first videos that will be primarily about geopolitical framework of what is going on now, in the world globally, and this is what I'm going to be doing, with some input sometimes on the issues of which I am professional, and I cannot basically reshape myself, so to speak, and lower, if you wish, although some people, again, lower in the sense that it's very, easy to talk about all those shiny military toys and masturbate to them, because this is what most people do, those people who do not have serious military background and education. But reality is, it is geopolitics and our global reality which really matters, and military technology is just the part of the much larger picture. And as some people stated recently, it was on my Russian Telegram channel, that well, you know what, we have to do the military parade and things like that when the Ukraine will be finished off, which it will be, and the troops will march, let's say, in Kiev. I said, that's a ridiculous idea, why do you need to do this? But said, you know what, armies march on the parades, but if you took a look attentively at the spies and you look at the diplomats, who sometimes have a equal, if not larger role in shaping the events of our present times, they don't march on the parades. It's much more complex. The victory today, as always, is described in the achieving of the political objective of the war. And as you saw yourself, Rob Schneider, I love Rob Schneider. So in the beginning, he stated pretty clearly what is this all about. But so here comes this, dropping the ball, if you wish, by me, not going back into describing those, fine-looking fighter planes and things of this nature, although I do dedicate some time to this too. Here comes the issue with Mr. Trump. And as you saw yourself from the headline, we have problem. We have mathematical problem with the United States across the board. And this is not just a matter of the propaganda. People do lie about numbers. It's the fact that how skewed, if not to a grotesquely bad, understanding of Mr. Trump, for example, of the reality of the world. So Mr. Trump places his tweet today. This is so much to unpack here, really. So, and this is what he says in his tweet. Read this. This is very interesting. So, here's the guy who says, I'm not looking to hurt Russia. I love Russian people and always had a very good relationship with President Putin. And this despite the radical left's Russia hoax. No, he didn't have good, basically, a relationship with Mr. Putin because Mr. Trump basically collapsed. It was on his watch. All the strategic framework, strategic security and safety, if you wish, a framework of the, for example, arms limitation treaties from the intermediate nuclear weapons to the ABM and things of this nature. Well, ABM, it wasn't actually him, but still. And so here he comes. We must never forget that Russia helped us win the Second World War. Wow, this is what it's just... I thought actually it was United States that helped actually Soviet Union to defeat Axis forces, but what do I know, And then he comes with this number, which that is precisely the number for which, for example, I and Mr. Colonel Douglas McGregor have irreconcilable differences, because I operate based on the Russian archives, including Russian Armed Forces archives, which are located in Podolsk, Moscow Oblast, while other people just read Solzhenitsyn and continue to basically recycle his delirium. And he's talking about losing almost 60,000 lives in the process. No, Soviet Union didn't lose 60 million lives in the process. This is the number which Mr. Solzhenitsyn pushed on the unsuspecting and very illiterate militarily American public, and it was primarily done through the Professor Kurganov, Goebbels' helper and aide, who produce this number to prove to everybody how horrible Bolsheviks are, who, well, as Mr. for example, McGregor says that they even killed million plus soldiers, in the rear of those retreating Red Army soldiers, while in reality the number is 10 times smaller, and this wasn't done actually by Bolsheviks per se. Primarily it was done by the actually field commanders. But this is the reality Mr. Trump is living in, and he is saying, well, basically, so. Yeah, his famous thing, make a deal. And what can I say about this make a deal thing? So, obviously, when a man has such perverted view of the outside world, he says that, yeah, sure, yeah, let's meet. When suddenly it changes that he again continues to push this, well, it's a meme now. Russia never would have gone into Ukraine. I had a very strong understanding with Putin. No, you didn't. You work around into their utter anti-Russophobic policy and actually boasted about the fact being the most anti-Russian president in US history. And suddenly he has long understanding with Putin. Putin doesn't care about Trump per se. The only thing Putin cares about is the well-being of Russia and his nation. And if he has to deal with Mr. Trump, so he will be dealing with Mr. Trump. And he will say necessary pleasantries if he needs to talk to him. So, and he has constantly pushing this thing that if I would have been president, well, you have been president. Guess what? You are the one who initiated a full rearming of Ukraine on your watch. So, Trump described the Russian leader as smart and insisted that Putin launched the military operation in the neighboring country only because he disrespected then US President Joe Biden. There you go. Same as the World War II understanding, or rather lack of it. And of course, this is the most preposterous rationale for invading the country, which Russia did invade Ukraine. Nobody argues with that. But the main question is, why did Russia invade Ukraine? And it had nothing, zero, with disrespect to Mr. Joe Biden. And so, well, Mr. Trump also, as you already saw yourself previously, but I want to stress again, he doesn't want to harm Russian people, yet he said he would likely slap additional sanctions on Moscow if the Kremlin refuses to engage in peace talks, and that his administration will look into the possibility of providing more weapons to Ukraine. I have some news for Mr. Trump and his military advisors. There is nothing the United States can provide to Ukraine which will change the outcome. Zero. Of course, the United States is free to go and start providing whatever it has left in its arsenals and its stocks of the ammunition. They will be all basically ground into dust. And, well, what can I say? It's just typical Trump, and I think so Mr. Trump now, probably, especially with this type of understanding of the strategic reality, will own this war. So, however, the rhetoric did change. Remember, well, Wall Street Journal now talks about, again, Trump saying 100 days to Mr. Kellogg, yeah, to achieve some deal with Russians. Okay, so good luck to Mr. Kellogg, who, as I already stated, will be trying to punch way above his weight category. He will be looked at, as I already stated, by serious Russian military people as an amateur who tries to, well, play with the numbers. And as you saw yourself, United States, including its military, is inherently bad at mathematics. Some people are good, but most are not, and this is not surprising when you have the whole of the officer corps, at least majority of it, come through the ROTC programs, and they come there with all kinds of the funny degrees, like Mr. Cavalier, the supreme commander of the NATO forces in Europe. His main education is in biology. They study in biology, obviously, things like, you know, what the exponential things, you know, compound interest things, and things of this nature. But those people obviously do not understand attrition models, and they do not understand even the facts which have been disclosed for a long time by Russia opening those military archives. And evidently to no use to most of people who operate at the military political top level in the United States. They live in this delusion. And just to demonstrate to you how delusional they are, well, let me put it this way. If we go to this war zone thingy, here it is. I don't know what Trump wants to supply Ukraine with and what kind of sanctions he can slap on Russia. Russia is practically sanction-proofed, and yeah, it's the only country in the world which can completely subsist on its own resources. But here it is. It's just from yesterday that Ukraine is burning 255 millimeters M77 howitzer barrels so fast the US Army can't keep up. Well, when you produce only 30 barrels a month, it's the level of the third world, let me put it this way. And that is why when I read this and like, there is no ability for United States Army to sustain anything. Forget about Ukrainians, but they continue to still provide some kind of the military assistance to Ukraine, and it doesn't matter because it is being just annihilated upon arrival, and it doesn't matter what they do. Again, short of the nuclear weapons, nothing going to change the outcome. And suddenly, as I already stated, the rhetoric changes in the sense that Mr. Ushakov says, for example, Mr. Ushakov, the chief of staff or the head of the administration of Russian President Vladimir Putin, that top Putin aide addresses reports of phone call with Mr. Trump. We have been following media reports that the US administration is preparing for dialogue and that Trump allegedly instructed his team to contact Russia, Ushakov told reporters. He reiterated that Moscow is open to discussion if Trump's team demonstrates mutual interest. So far, Trump's team demonstrate only the bravado, all kinds of the, fluffy BS, and all kinds of the people who won't actually pass the smell test on being professionals in the modern conditions of the, combined arms warfare and what is happening and how the reality actually on the front shapes itself, if you wish, or shapes the geopolitical reality, shapes the political issues which you have to discuss with, for example, between, let's say, Mr. Putin and Mr. Trump. But if you have Mr. Trump who comes in and thinks that, oh, you lost, 1 million, oh, whatever. I'll give you example here. If you say that I'm being, facetious or I'm joking, no. Here's one of the guys, he was commander of the forces, U.S. forces in Europe, Mr. Ben Hodges. And again, you think so Mr. Ben Hodges is the exception? No, he is a rule of those guys. And again, this is 2022. Remember this? Here is the Ben Hodges comes up with the platitude which is designed for the consumption of the pretty much illiterate housewives somewhere. But war is a test of wills and logistics. I assess Russian forces will collapse by end of summer, and Ukrainian armed forces will go over to the offense, exploiting that collapse and drive back RF forces to 23 February line or more by September. So here's the so-called Russian scholar. The guy is a certified imbecile from Stanford. That's the explanation why the United States cannot win a single war, let alone trying to figure out how to fight Russia. And here's the guy who says that Russian retreats from first Kiev and now Kharkov at this stage in the war are unexpected for me and inspiring. Yeah, this was, well, almost 3 years ago. So let's take a look now where Russians are. We go to our good friend Marat Khairulin. And as you can see yourself, this is today. Well, what can I say? If you look attentively at Zapadne and Dvurechne, Russians already crossed the Oskol River, guys. They already surrounded essentially Kupiansk, and they are already back in Kharkov Oblast. So, and they will continue to move to the west. And the question is, as many times have been stated, Russians do not really care about that much of the territory. They are not there for the territorial gains. They are for the, basically a physical annihilation of the armed forces of Ukraine and all the infrastructure which was created with the help of the United States, Great Britain, and people of such nature like this guy. Look at him. Look at, oh yeah, he is, oh yeah, Bundeswehr general, look at his face. I mean, stern, the jaw is from front. The guy is obviously, just probably, talks in his sleep to the heroes of the Wehrmacht, he probably talks about, to Hitler maybe, who knows. But here it is, the top German official has sounded the alarm that Russia is rearming faster than previously thought, which could indicate preparations to attack a NATO country. Look at the face of this guy, he's German, and so I already had a number of Germans who obviously still cannot face the reality that, oh yeah, Russia and Germany, you're supposed to be, friends and allies. No, it's all BS, and it doesn't work like this, but yeah, whatever. If people want to reside in their delusion, let them. But Germany's Major General Christian Freuding said the Russian armed forces are not just able to compensate for enormous personnel and material losses, they are successfully rearming. I don't know where those people, again, as I already stated, they probably don't teach them math in the military academies in the West. Yeah, you cannot teach math, for example, in Sandhurst in Great Britain, because obviously in 44 weeks you cannot prepare an officer, cadre officer. But here we are. Here's the guy talks about there's some enormous losses. I don't know. I don't think so. They are enormous. Russians definitely sustain losses. Nobody argues with that. But the kill ratio is now emerging to on overall be 1 to 12, around that. So, but, Mr. Freuding, evidently, look at him. He is a German general. He knows better. He commands, of course, the Lilliputian army, which has about zero combat capability. And as I already stated, the products of the over-engineered and, basically combat not ready products by the Bundeswehr, modern Bundeswehr, have been paraded as the, junk weapons by Russians. So now, however, it is not confirmed that Vladimir Putin intends to attack a NATO member state. Well, good that they at least mention it, but General Flirting has said that the Russian president appears to be clearly creating the conditions for it. Well, it's difficult for me to explain to any now, most at least, Western officer, forget about some, well, I'm not saying this, in a disrespectful manner, Grant or NCO, but you cannot when you cannot explain to general level officer what they are facing and what they are looking at, then you have the issue. But the issue is there. I'm on record for long time now that actually military education in the West is a joke. And just to demonstrate to you what we have actually developing in the front, here it is. Here is the recent data from yesterday. I deliberately framed the total for special military operation. I don't know why it translates NWO, but as you can see yourself, we're looking at several army groups destroyed by Russians, killed. And when you look at the number of the amount of equipment, NATO is simply not capable to basically compensate for it, to sustain it. And no matter what they do, for example, they try to open the new production plant for the barrels of the M777 howitzers. It's not going to do much. It may improve somewhat, but you cannot close the gap when you are lagging behind, not by units in like thousands or something like that. You're talking about the order of magnitude that, for example, Russia outproduces all NATO combined in some weapon systems, especially critical weapon systems such as the smart and standoff weaponry, by order of magnitude. That means 10 times or more. And how are you going to close it? You can't. But Mr. Trump, yeah, he's doing what he's trying to do always, just to pretend that he has a strong hand. He doesn't. United States doesn't. And as I already stated, you can quote me, United States lost the arms race, and it lost it badly. And so then we have to also concentrate a little bit. I'll have to give you a little bit more information that when Mr. Trump wants to slap the, sanctions, here it is. That's what is going to happen. While Europe will struggle to buy more U.S. gas, Financial Times reports to it. Donald Trump has threatened EU with tariffs unless bloc steps up LNG imports. Sure, that was the idea from the get-go, and I warned about it for years that this is what is happening. And so this is just the part of the basically pressure United States puts on its so-called European allies, which are not really allies, they are sacrificial lambs. And now even this bimbo, she's an idiot, certified idiot, and she hates Russians. And you know what, scratch any German, you will have somebody who fought on the Eastern Front. So, and here it is. Loss of Russian energy supplies triggered sky-high cost. EU Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen says. So, and here it is. These are the numbers, when even she has to admit. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland on Tuesday, von der Leyen said that before 2022, the EU was receiving 45% of its gas and 50% of coal supplies from Russia, while Moscow was one of the bloc's largest oil suppliers. This energy appeared cheap, but it exposed us to blackmail. Well, sure, there you go. You got rid of the being exposed to blackmail by Russia, so enjoy. So, and here she is now. Our gas imports from Russia went down by roughly 75%, and now we import from Russia only 3% of our oil and no coal at all, she stated. At the same time, von der Leyen acknowledged that the loss of Russian supplies exacerbated the energy crisis. Freedom came at a price. Households and businesses saw sky-high energy costs, and bills for many are yet to come down. So there you go. You wanted to, be free from Russian blackmail? So enjoy. This is what you wanted. And, and how many times should I repeat? Europe is done. And it will be done one way or another, doesn't matter. And I don't think so. Anybody who, for example, Germans elect, and it depends if the even alternative for Germany somehow goes to power, it's not going to change anything, because Europe has been sold, resold, and it's basically a geopolitical prostitute which will be well sacrificed at the altar of the geopolitical ambitions of the United States. But those now not just ambitions, United States needs to eat too. And I've been repeating this phrase non-stop. If I am just, average American, why do I care what Europeans do when I care about my heating bill, my insurance, and paying my mortgage, and, basically paying my bills? You know what? The number of essentially classic American stories written about this, especially Mr. O. Henry, for those who didn't read, I strongly suggest you. But before I go, I want to also stress something which is very important. This is a Russian oceanography research vessel called Yantarь. It is GUGI, which is main directorate of the depth research, and it is actually a Russian military ship. It's Russian Navy. So you cannot just torpedo it. Well, if you look attentively where Yantarь was recently, you will see yourself that it was precisely at the place where the Ursa Major went down. Obviously, well, how to put it, being blown up by somebody, right? Well, I have news for you. Yantarь obviously has all abilities to actually, it's not going to lift the Ursa Major. It's not designed for it. But it has a lot of capabilities in terms of studying why and how this Ursa Major went down, being obviously sabotaged. Well, guess what? Not only this entire vessel has been followed by Royal Navy, but even the Astute class submarine recently surfaced near it, while this being in the place where Ursa Major actually went down. And that tells you a lot about what everybody knows, that it was basically most likely the US and United Royal Navy's operation to sink Russian ship. And it was the sabotage, and most likely, those Brits are worried that this entire vessel, which is really highly sophisticated and has a very sophisticated underwater surveillance and recon capabilities, they will be able to pinpoint what kind of explosives and what was done to Ursa Major, albeit I would assume, although it might not necessarily be the case, that obviously there where the this torn hull is, it's probably lays on that same side, and that will take some effort to recognize and to kind of calculate essentially what has been done, what kind of mines or sabotage devices have been attached to Ursa Major. Or maybe if somebody even torpedoed it. So we'll see. It depends. So we cannot say now with any degree of accuracy what's going to happen. But Russians are working on this, and for some reason, Royal Navy or whatever is left of it is very worried, to the point that they essentially betrayed the position of one of their most prized assets, which is the nuclear-powered fast attack submarine of the Astute class. Russians said only, "Thank you very much." And they definitely recorded the signature, not only acoustic, but other physical field. So, and in conclusion, if anybody doubts how whatever is left of the armed forces of Ukraine fight, here it is. Here is the one of the Colombian creeps, soldiers of fortune, have been caught by Russians. And here it is, Colombian mercenary. The Kiev regime are fascists. Well, hello, welcome to real world, dude. They forced my friends to shoot Ukrainian soldiers leaving their positions. So, and he explained, you can see yourself, you can go to the Telegram channel of the Northern Wind, and these are serious military professionals, or I know who are behind that. And behind this Telegram channel, these are professionals and serious analysts. And there you go, Pablo Puertas, Colombian mercenary captured in the Kursk region. And you see this? That's called barrier troops, guys. So, and this has been the case now for more than a year. You try to leave your position to save yourself, you're being shot at from behind and killed. Guess what? This is primarily NATO people. Well, Poles are also known to be a sadistic, rapists and killers of Russian population. But I mean, Americans, British, they are really good at it. This is what they are good at, to shoot in the backs of the retreating, Ukrainian cannon fodder. And this is how they have been able, including the drugs, shooting the drugs big time to Ukrainian soldiers, to keep them in the trenches. They hide primarily. I mean, they still shoot back. That is why Russians sustain some, not very large, but some casualties. But here's the, verbatim from one of the people who, he went to kill Russians. This is what they all go to, including American mercenaries. No, not those American guys who fight on there is an Anglo-Saxon battalion actually in Russian armed forces. There are guys from United Kingdom, United States, Canada, and New Zealand who fight on Russian side, and they are the honorable people who made the correct choice in their life. But many go there to kill Russians. Yeah, including all those guys, all those kids, who went through the Afghanistan and think, oh, that was the IT war. No, it wasn't. It was the high-intensity police operation. And then they suddenly encountered this combined arms warfare, and the only thing they are good at is to somehow try to maneuver in accordance to the US Army field manuals, which are really not that much applicable for the real war. Or, yes, they end up in the tactical rear and they shoot their Ukrainian soldiers who are forced to retreat constantly. And what can I say? This is what they do. And that is why when the people do not understand even simple attrition model, and they still believe that Russians lost 60 million people, the third of the population of the Soviet Union, do you know what it means? I wouldn't exist today if that would have been the case. But somehow, Russians persevered. Granted that indeed Soviet Union, primarily a Slavic population of it, lost 27 million people. 11 million of them have been soldiers of the Red Army. 16 million were civilian Soviet citizens. I mean, they have been, killed basically by all different types of ways, if you wish, and from hunger to being in the death and concentration camps, or just executed, raped, pillaged. And when Trump says that Russia helped United States to defeat Hitler, he better get basic history lessons, which of course none of his aides can tell him the real truth. And he is about to face a very unpleasant development. But hey, Russians are ready for any sanctions, and we'll see. And this is what I wanted to tell you guys today. And as always, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee at 2. That will allow me to continue to do what I'm doing now. Well, all the best for you for the rest of your week, and I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.